a team of 8 people. So I can say that, yes, we've built from scratch and, we've made some good progress and success with that. So yeah, I could have some real life lessons and, some things that I've, experienced along the way that I can share. I'm here to learn from everyone. Everyone is here to learn from me because no man is an island of knowledge, right? So I will just do a quick intro of myself. Like you already know, my name is Ibukun. I lead client operations and partners at Dojah. And essentially what my job, how did I get here? Let me just give a little bit about my background. So I've worked across multiple industries: banking, health tech, marketing, before I found myself in, a software as a service product. And upon joining Dojah, it's been, different experiences across, clients, partners, managing, mostly in B2B, right? So I would say I've worked a lot more in B2B, but finding myself in Dojah where truthfully, when I joined, I didn't even know what the product was about. Like I didn't understand fully how to sell it or how to manage it, but I learned on the job. I had people who trusted me enough to, give me that opportunity. And over time, over the course of, the years, we've been able to scale largely. And I've been able to initiate strategies that, have helped to drive substantial revenue growth, year-on-year increase and all of that. So yeah, we'll be sharing practical insights on how to build CS teams from the scratch and be able to lead, the team with intention and with some knowledge, right? And yeah, I think I'll just ask each person to give an insight into, you don't have to unmute, you can just type it in the chat, just give an insight into what you expect to learn today. Let's be sure that, we're meeting expectations, answering questions and stuff like that, so you can, just follow along. Right, so getting into it, we talk about customer experience a lot, and I think it's also important that we understand what exactly customer experience is, because a lot of times we make mistakes as to what exactly customer experience is. A lot of people mistake it for support, and that's not the case, right? Customer experience is a lot more than that. I would say it's largely about strategy. It's largely about an experience. It's largely about the journey, right? Customer experience is strategy, it's insights, and it's influence. It is the whole 9 yards. Customer experience is a journey, and it starts from the very first contact that your customer has with your product. Now, I've tried to make this, again, largely my experience has been in B2B, but I would try to relate it, to also those that are in the B2C sector, right? It's customer experience starts from where your customer starts to experience your product from. Now, this can be via any channel, depending on like the industry that you play in or your type of product, right? But it's essentially the feeling that your customer carries with them across every touch point, across every time they've come in contact with your product, from the first contact down to, there's no end. We don't usually want, customers to churn, so to retention. So, but one thing is certain, regardless of where the first point of contact happens, that's where the journey starts, and that's where the experience starts from. So it's very important that, at every touch point, in the journey, the customer is having a good experience, they're having a good feeling, right? So let's talk about how exactly do we start from the scratch. There are really no established playbooks, right, for us to follow. Well, that's why we're here, to share knowledge and experiences as to how to get started with building, your customer experience foundation. Now, let's talk about the first 90 days, right? What exactly do you have to do when you find yourself having to lead a customer experience team? Essentially, the first thing is to conduct an audit. I'm sure we would all understand what an audit is. An audit is more of like a review, right? Conduct an audit, know what's it's on ground. If you're met with a team that is already established, right? Understand the process. Or if you have to build your own team or your own process, understand the different touch points that could possibly exist, right? So it's essential that you carry out an audit your entire process end to end, ask questions from your internal stakeholders, ensure that you have a 360 view on the entire process from sign up to all the way down to retention, right? So conducting an audit helps you know what part of the process needs to be eliminated, what parts needs to be automated, what parts needs to be updated, and so on and so forth, right? So conducting an audit is very important. While conducting an audit, you get to understand your customer journey, right? So it's also important that you also visualize that journey. I would say that for me, that's one thing that really worked for me, if we're familiar with how people who do UX design, how they work, they will typically draw it out. I know a couple of people that will probably draw it out on paper first before, starting to design. So think of yourself as a designer. Visualize how you want your process to flow, how you want customers to be able to move from one point of call to the other, how you want hands-off to happen. So you have a customer who has come in through the marketing team, how you want to hand them off to customer support, how you want to hand them off to the onboarding team, right? So conducting that audit already gives you the 360 view of what should happen end to end. Then you can start to visualize, start to put into perspective, map out the entire journey of how you want to see things, actually happen. This will help you understand, every moment. And in understanding your customer journey, just think of yourself as a designer. Visualize yourself as a designer who is designing something. You don't have to be very good at art, or you just visualize it as a designer. Now, next thing is prioritize quick wins. Now, when you're visualizing your customer journey, identify different points or moments in that journey that signal success. What this means is a lot of times we tag success as, or when the customer has made, their first purchase, but there are different points in the journey that could also signify success, right? So I'll give a couple of examples across like different industries. So say you're in the e-commerce industry, right? Or let's say retail. Success could mean reducing the number of steps that your potential buyer has to go through for them to be able to check out. Or say someone who has not created an account and is just a guest buyer, right? Reducing the steps that they have to get through for them to check out. Or it could also mean like how well you're able to smoothen their delivery process, right? Clear communication builds trust. So let me also use another example in, say, healthcare, right? Having to put in appointment reminders to reduce the number of people who get to miss their appointments. Those are also success metrics that, you can take a look at or you can implement into your journey. And, that helps you to, we'll get to that part where we talk about how to manage successes and failures and all of that. But let me look for another industry. Say if you're in the hospitality industry, right? Having to be able to communicate, and set expectations as to when time of arrival, reminder of their, bookings and all of those kind of things, right? And okay, for my own industry, for example, if you're in a B2B software as a service product, creating like guided setup because it's a technical product, right? Creating guided setup for the onboarding process or creating quick access to support. All of those things help to reduce drop off. It helps to reduce churn and all of, stuff like that. Then lastly, let's talk about building feedback loops. So how exactly do you understand if you're not creating friction in a bid to, because a lot of times or sometimes in a bid to sort of automate or create good experiences for our customers, we might be creating friction in their journey or in their experience. So how are we sure that, customers are experiencing processes or our products just the way we have envisaged, is by creating feedback loops, right? That helps us to get insights into how users are experiencing the products or what's the experience they are having at every point in time. So setting up analytics can help you track over time. You can also help you spot patterns. Okay, that would help you see things like drop-off points, right? You can easily see where people drop off the most if you have, if you have metrics in place or if you have data in place that could tell you that. So this will help you continuously refine the entire customer experience. So just think of these 4 things as like your first point of call in a lead role, right? Create an audit, review everything, take a look at it, redesign it if you need to, or refine whatever, process needs to be refined, celebrate quick wins, put in different points. So I would say something that an advice I got early on was saying that when you're communicating your maybe doing a report to stakeholders, they perceive it exactly how you present it. So prioritizing quick wins means that even if at the end of the day we had gotten 1,000 leads, but only 50 people had gotten to the end point, there's a way you can tell that story that would make stakeholders see success in that 50, right? So we'll get there. So next is building systems that scale, right? We talk about, so I'll categorize this under the 3 T's: the tools, the tech, and the tenacity. We're in an era where tech makes everything easy for us, right? And when you're building an experience for your customers, there are different things that would help you. These are 3 key things rather that would help you build a seamless experience for your customers. The tools, the kind of tools that you use, your tool stack, your tech stack as well, and the tenacity, which is more or less the determination to ensure that your customers have a smooth and seamless experience. So I'll put this under 4 different categories. Listening, right? So scalable customer experience starts with scalable listening. Think of it like that. You should have tools that help you to be able to listen. Tools, a lot of these tech tools are there to make our life easier, right? So just approach it with an open mind. Your tool stack should be able to help you listen, act, and report. It doesn't have to be fancy, but it has to be fully functional, right? It helps you turn all the noise that you're getting from the customer into insights. So tools are expected to help you capture what your customers are saying in real time and turn all of that to actionable insights that you can use to refine your process, right? Refining the process will come down to automation, right? It's not the entirety of it, but a majority of it can be automated. So speed and simplicity starts from systems, right? Workflow automations basically helps you to achieve operational efficiency. That's the summary of it. It doesn't have to be robotic, but make it dynamic, right? So automation tools help you to streamline how your customer data flows, how the operations of everything moves, how your customers are handed off from one team to the other. And overall, it helps you to reduce manual work, right? So that you can focus on what really matters the most. Automation just basically helps you to ensure that you're efficient and effective, right? Your team is focusing on what really matters and you're not doing a lot of manual work. You're not passing spreadsheets across. You're not passing customer data over charts, right? It's already automatically moved from one end to the other. When someone who is supposed to work within sales has completed or closed the sales deal, they can automatically move it to like the onboarding team. Onboarding team can, loop in support when needed. You can loop in the engineering team when there's a need for a fix automatically. And all of this allows your customer to, be at peace, to be able to trust the product, right? Because they're not having to repeat what they've said to one person before, because the data that they have provided initially has moved across board or across the internal team efficiently. Then speaking of insights is gaining visibility, right? Insight helps you to identify what is redundant with your process, helps you to identify what is not needed. Remember, we've done an audit, but you also need insights to continuously refine and ensure that this process is efficient, right? Like I said, all of these do not have to be fancy, but it has to be functional. So you could use basic tools like Excel or a Google Sheet to just help you track user behavior, track trends, right? Changes in patterns, just be able to make smarter decisions. When the data is clear enough, the action that you need to take becomes obvious. So just equip yourself, ensure that you're well equipped with, certain little functions that you can do in Excel, like writing if statements, creating pivot tables, using VLOOKUPs, those kind of things, those kind of capabilities help you to be able to generate insights, actionable insights, right? Make smarter decisions, move things along faster, spot trends fast, right? You don't have to, it doesn't have to be fancy. It's not until you create the fanciest dashboard for you to be able to communicate or see what's going on with your user experience, what's going on with how users are moving along your processes. Then lastly is presentation. So you've been able to identify what, maybe something is wrong or what is right with your process or with your customer experience. How exactly then are you able to communicate that, say, to your internal team? If you've identified a point in your customer journey that needs refinement, that needs to be changed, how exactly do you present that? So again, because presentation really matters, how you present that helps the team to be able to understand, and decisions can move along faster, because clear communication helps you to build trust and help people to know that you actually know what you're saying, because you've clearly communicated what the issue is, and you've clearly communicated, what the users, the pain points of the users, and that would help you move faster. So you can scale faster, you can make decisions faster, and your internal team, already trusts your judgment, right? Then the importance of data in CX. I'm very, very much data inclined, because for me, that has been one thing that has changed how how we manage customers at Dojah, right? Customer experience has been, data rather has been one thing that, maybe because it's a tech company, but data has been very, very, very important. It has been very key. It reviews a lot of things. It helps you get insights faster. On a daily basis, we're looking at data. We have dashboards that, that are updating and letting you know what's going on. Tracking, it helps you track user behavior. It helps you track patterns. It helps you track pain points that are usually not even visible in feedback that you collect, right? Customers can say A, and when you look at the data, it's something else, right? So data ultimately reviews what customers are not saying out loud, right? And it helps you to connect your customer experience to business outcomes. Now, a lot of times internally, we have like business goals, we have business outcomes that we're expecting, which is why you have set certain processes in place, right, for your customers' journey. And when you now look at the data of how your customers are experiencing that particular process or product, you find out that it's not the expectation, and then you have to change, you have to reiterate what you've done, right? So it helps you to connect your customers' experience to business outcomes, because I'm sure that every business has a business goal. Every business has, what's driving them and what they deem important, right? So data helps you to prioritize. It also helps you to for personalization and continuous improvement. So think of data as the backbone of your customer experience strategy. It helps you to also properly strategize, because whatever thoughts that you have, I will typically say that whatever thoughts that you have might not be what it is. A lot of times it doesn't come out how we expect. When you've designed a process like, customers should be able to move from this to this, once they log in, they should get this particular pop-up, and you find out that that pop-up is not even working. It's not working for them, because it's now people are having difficulty moving beyond it or stuff like that. It's not communicating. They're not even reading it. It's not even communicating what you expect, right? So it helps you focus on what matters the most. It helps you impact touch points. It helps you identify friction areas. And again, it helps you identify your quick wins. And ultimately, it also helps you to deliver like tailored experiences based on real user behavior and not assumptions, right? It helps you identify the key user behavior and not just, making assumptions of what you think would be good for the customer, but it helps you see what's actually good. And most importantly, data in customer experience helps you to monitor trends over time to be able to refine your strategy and help you stay fully ahead of customer expectations, right? You already know what your customer behavior is like. That way you know what to expect, and you know what to put in place to make their process or their experience a lot simpler, right? So once you've been able to identify data, or the key data in your customer experience process, you can then talk of how you're measuring success. Now, if you can't measure it, you can improve it. That's the truth, right? If you're not able to say, oh, this is how well this is doing, then you don't know what to improve, right? You're just moving blindly, right? And again, like I said, data is very important. Data helps you to know what's happened, but stories help you to tell why it matters, right? Now, why is this very important? You have to be able to, as a customer experience person, tell a story. Experience is a story, storytelling, right? Experience is the infusion of data and storytelling. You have to be able to be a good storyteller when you're tracking metrics that matter. So what I have here is just a list of it's not an exhaustive list. It's just some generic metrics that could, be relevant across multiple industries. However, it's very important that in whatever role or business or products that you're functioning in, you know what numbers are important. You know what metrics are important for the business. Again, it's all about tying customer experience to business outcomes. You know what's important for the business that you're, functioning in, right? So it's essential for you to know what numbers you're tracking and be able to tell the story. So when I say tell the story, it comes down to how you're presenting, whatever your data or your metrics have told you. Like I had said earlier, if you have 1,000 leads that have been generated and you're seeing only 50, say if you have a fintech product, right, you've generated 1,000 signups and only 50 are, transacting on your fintech application. How exactly you tell that story, the process or the movement of that 1,000 to the 50 matters, right? So it could be, let me use a typical example, a fintech product that has launched and has referrals, right? The way you tell the story starts from the starting point. Oh, in month 1, January 1st to 31st, we were able to generate 1,000 leads. Out of these 1,000 leads, 800 of them have signed up. Out of the 800 that have signed up, we've seen another 500 that have completed their verification. Now, out of the 500 that completed verification, we've seen 400 of them claim their referral bonus. And from that, we saw that that was the end of it. So what do we do to ensure that, they move beyond just claiming referral bonus? So it comes down to storytelling, right? It comes down to how you present the data and say, out of the 400 that have claimed their referral bonus, only 50 of them came back. So we need to figure out how to be able to move people from just claiming referral bonus to seeing the value in the product and start transacting on our mobile application, right? So it comes down to storytelling and the metrics that you're tracking, right? So you don't have to use this particular metrics, but it comes down to the specific metrics that are important or that are key to the business that you function in or the industry that you play in or the products that you're selling, right? So make sure that the experience is visible, show success and failures. Do not be scared of failure, right? That's what metrics helps you to identify. Do not be scared of failure. Show the failures and show reason. That's why it comes, like I said, storytelling. It comes down to how you present the data, right? And even if you've not met up to like a target of what the stakeholders are expecting, show failures, show reasons, which is why it's very important that we are also data conscious as customer experience people. We are also data conscious and we understand how to interpret numbers, because that's how you're able to tell the story and show reason why something hasn't gone the way the business has expected, right? And another thing is, in the case where it's a success, be loud about your wins, right? When your metrics are on the down, when the arrows are up, be loud about your win. Milk it, repeat it at every point you get that, oh yes, we have, achieved this and this and this milestone, because those are the things that are important and those are the things that also get to establish you as a leader and someone who knows what they're doing, right? So milk your wins, use the metrics as evidence and pair them with customer stories for maximum effect, right? Just ensure that whatever metrics you're showing is important for the business, and pair those metrics, right, with customer stories to, show exactly that people are enjoying, this process, or this process is effective, which is why we have these high numbers, or which is why our metrics are increasing, and that helps you to portray success better, right? So moving on from all of the business value talk, we also need to talk about the personal value you are giving as a leader, as a customer experience leader, right? We've talked a lot about the metrics that are important for the business. We've talked about, we've talked also a lot about the data part, how to build systems. All of those are related to like the business value of it. Now coming down to the personal value as a leader yourself, right? How to properly position yourself as a customer experience leader. It comes down to two major things: internal and external. Internal would be your stakeholder management, communication management. How exactly are you able to manage people on the inside? So people on the inside do not only have to be your C-suite management or your, who you're reporting to. It could also be people on the same level, other teams, right? So stakeholder management is it requires for you to be able to speak the language of the business. So like I've said, understand for a fact the products that you're selling or the business you're playing in or the industry you're playing in, what exactly is important for that business? What are the business goals, right? How does the business see itself? How do the management portray the business, right? That way you can also speak the language of the business. It means that you're then able to translate customer insights into metrics that matter and into by speaking the language of the business, right? Like revenue impact, retention, operational efficiency. Understand part-time businesses will typically set like yearly goal. Understand what is the end goal for that year. How then can you plan for the end goal for the year? Then when you break it down to quarterly goals, understand for a fact what um goals the business has for the quarter, right? Then that way, as an effective CS leader, you're able to align the business goals and the broader business priorities of the business with what you're actually doing on your own day-to-day task, right? So it's very important that you understand the priorities of the business, communicate in the terms that the stakeholders understand, right? Be able to marry what customer experience is with the overall company strategy, right? Once you are able to find that connection between the customer experience and company strategy, you are set for success, honestly. And so that way you are able to earn influence, you're able to establish yourself as a leader because you've been able to marry the strategy of the business, the goals of the business to what you're doing in terms of customer experience. Right. Then let's talk about being a customer champion, right? This is more of an external thing. Let it be known across board, across every team. Let it be known across every team that you are a customer champion, right? Let it be known that you are able to provide great customer experience. You then build alliances. So I'll say this as your own Avengers across board, right? Every other team, as I say, that you are in the middle of every team. You're relating with products, you're relating with marketing, you're relating with sales, you're relating with support. You're doing everything across board. Engineering, the tech has to be good if you're working in a tech company, right? So you have to establish yourself as a customer champion. You're not just collaborating, you're championing the customer at every point, at every meeting, at every turn. You are the voice of the customer, right? You are the one who speaks for the customer because they are not there, right? You're the one who is able to share their story. You're the one who is able to share their pain points, right? At every point, such that it resonates with every department that you're, meeting with or discussing with at every point in time. So just being able to position yourself as a customer champion, and creating a culture where customer experience then becomes everybody's priority. They know that once they see you are coming to discuss something that is important to your customers, right? It becomes a thing that is now everybody's responsibility, not just yours, right? So being able to properly position yourself, build alliance across board, across every department, right? And it comes down to also our interpersonal relationship, right? How we're able to relate with people. It's not everything that is fight, right? How we're able to relate with people and push for what we want, right? So after positioning yourself as a leader, you're obviously not going to do the work all alone. You have to build and position your team. Now, it's not just about building a department. It's about building people who are equally customer obsessed as you are, right? And you have to be able to build a team that drives impact, because at the end of the day, the impact of what you're doing or the end goal of what you're doing might not be achieved if you don't have people who are equally as obsessed with the customer journey as you are. So being able to hire for empathy, curiosity, and storytelling. Like I said, the key part of one of the key parts of customer experience is being able to tell the customer story, right? Being able to tell the story from beginning to the end of how the customer moves along, right? So creating a culture of continuous feedback and experimentation. For me, I would always say one thing that be less theoretical and be more practical, right? A lot of times we go by what some handbook has said, but the reality of it is a lot different. The reality of what our customers are experiencing is a lot different. So be ready to experiment a lot. Just like the saying goes, it's not all about being book smart, but being street smart. So think of it as it's not about being theory smart, but being practical smart, right? So in that line. So be ready to experiment a lot. Build a team that also moves with you as fast as you're moving, that are ready to experiment and celebrate your wins loudly. Like I said, every time there is a win, milk it to the very last. And also, it's not about building headcount. It's not about the number of people, but the quality of the work that you're doing, right? So it's not about, it doesn't matter how many people are in the team, but what matters the most is the quality of the work being done. Again, make customer obsession your team superpower. Ensure that everyone who you're hiring or you're working with shares, your values in terms of customer obsession, shares your obsession, shares everything, and just ensure that you are open-minded, be quick to iterate, right? When something is not working, be able to identify fast that it's not working and you need to change, approach, or you need to change process. That's where the, experimentation comes in. So ensuring that you already have the values and the team that you're working with share in these values with you would set you up for success, right? Then a few common mistakes rather that we make is treating customer experience as a one-time project, right? A lot of times people think that once you've created the process for onboarding or your sales process, that's it. You hear things like, oh, that's how we do things here. There's no room for change. There's no room for experimentation, right? Customer experience is not just one box that you have to check and move on. It's a continuous thing, which is where data comes into play, where you have to see trends in user behavior and all of those things, right? Understanding that static customer experience, risk falling behind and losing your customer trust, right? Changes is what's evolving, just as your user behavior is evolving, changing as your user behavior is evolving, changing as your user pattern is changing is very, very important, right? That's why you need insight into the data as to, what your customers are experiencing. Then I know we've talked about automation, but one mistake that people make is over automating. So you need to be able to find the balance. Focusing too much on efficiency can lead to rigidity, right? When everything already feels robotic, it's not dynamic. There's no form of empathy in your automation. Say, for example, you have an automated process where emails are supposed to go out, when your customer takes certain steps, right? But we can already tell that this thing is automated. It's not feeling like something that a human sat down to write or sat down to do. Ensure that at every point in time, in every form of automation that you're doing, you are infusing empathy, right? Remembering that customers are not just data points, but they are also people. We are also customers of some other products that people are, reading into. For example, we're using Google Meet now. We're also Google Meet data points, right? And we're equally people. So understanding that your customers are not just data to be read, but but they are also people, right? Another thing is being reactive and not proactive. You have to be very proactive. Being able to get insight into what's going on and on knowing when to quickly change, spotting issues on time would help you design solutions that are proactive and continuously help you to improve the process. Then lastly is poor internal alignment. Just as we've said, you have to be your customer champion on the inside, and your stakeholder management has to be very top notch, because if you're not, if every team, if you're not in sync with every team, you operate in silos, and then your customer journey suffers because you're not able to move customers along the different teams faster, or you're not able to champion for customer issues on the inside better, because again, there is no alignment. You're not in sync with other teams, right? Other issues, other mistakes that we typically could make is using a one-size-fits-all approach. Like I've said, across different industries, across different product types, experiences are different, user behaviors are different. So not using a one-size-fits-all approach is very, very important. So regardless of your customer journey, understanding your user personas is what helps you to create dynamic experience for your users, right? And not having to use a one-size-fits-all approach. And then not measuring the right metrics also is another mistake. We often tend to use like generic things that we could find without thinking of what is the actual business goal here, and without thinking about what's if this applies to my own industry, right? So not measuring the right metrics can also be a mistake that people make. So it's very important that we are creative with the metrics that we're tracking. Think of the product, think of the service, think of the industry, and that helps you to avoid certain mistakes. So lastly, thank you for listening to all of everything from the beginning. But what are the key things that I want us to be able to take away from here is the fact that you can start small, think big, and move fast, right? Moving fast is very important. Like I said, experimentation, right? Define success early. Know what success looks like from the get-go. Is it faster onboarding you're trying to achieve with what you're doing? Is it lowering your churn rate? Is it increasing your upsells? Just understand what the goal is and not just moving blindly or moving fast, right? And again, celebrate your wins loudly. Keep the human in the loop. Do not ensure that things are not robotic, right? Document everything because they will be important, along the way as you go. Internal relationships matter. We can't emphasize that enough. Having alliances across board, across every department. So your internal relationships that you build matter a lot. Customer feedback is your growth engine. The insights that you get from your customer behavior, your user pattern is your growth engine. And then most importantly, position yourself as a leader. Own your performance, own your successes, own your failures, share your insights proactively. And also, as a CX leader, show how your customer experience efforts are tied to business impact. Show how exactly the experience that you're building with your customers tied to the success that the business is making, right? So show how your efforts tie overall to the business impact. And lastly, you don't have to do everything all at once. Progress over perfection at any time. The fact that you're making progress is good enough. It doesn't have to be perfect from the get-go. So progress over perfection at any point in time, right? So thank you, everyone. I hope that we've been able to learn a thing or two. And if you have any questions any questions or anything at all, I would be happy to hear your
Yes,
questions,
we do.
hear your thoughts. Oh, okay.
I'll be going over them from the beginning. I also have some questions I jotted down.
All right.
So the best person said, hold on. Is it possible to get this copy of the slides after the session?
Oh yeah, sure. Not a problem. You can share that.
Great. Okay. Peace asks, what is the name of the speaker's company? Although it was in the flyer, the name of our company is Dojah. I would want her to speak on it because it's a very niched B2B that I am very curious about.
Okay, sure. I currently work at Dojah. Dojah is our product is a software as a service. So think of us as we're B2B. So you might not necessarily have heard of us, but I'm sure that most of the maybe say fintech products that you use are powered by Dojah, more or less. So how do I explain what we do? We help to simplify onboarding for users. So think of, let me look for a typical example that would be very easy. So think of any fintech service that you currently use, right? And you're trying to get onboarded, you're trying to create an account. Typically for fintechs, they request for like your BVN or your NIN. They could probably even ask you to take a selfie or they send you an OTP. All of those kind of things are what we power. We help businesses verify digital business. It doesn't even have to be a fintech. We help businesses overall verify identities. We help them do transaction monitoring. So think of us as your compliance partner. Think of us as your regulatory partner, right? So yeah, I think that's like the simplest way I could explain it. But yeah, that's what we do.
Okay, thank you so very much. It's very amazing to see that Nigerian company is doing that particular thing. Very impressed.
Yeah.
Okay, she asked, what way have you been able to change a difficult pattern with your customers caused by a tech issue that was revealed through insights? Let's say you noticed from monitoring your customer insights that there's a pattern that some changes have been caused due to an issue, a product tech issue. How have you been able to turn that around?
Okay, so let me repeat what you said. What way have we been able to change a pattern where customers are experiencing something with tech, and we got to know through insights, right?
Yes, let's say a behavioral pattern that is as a result of that tech issue.
Yeah. So as a tech company, it happens like from time to time, right? So one thing is having to identify, number one, you've identified the issue. Now there's something we call dependencies, right? You've identified an issue that is affecting a number of customers. You have to act fast. And one of the key ways to act fast is think of all of the dependencies. What are the possible things that this is tied to this particular issue, right? So let's say it's an onboarding thing, right? So for example, at Dojah, our onboarding process is internal, which means that you can't create an account from outside. We have to create it for you internally. And when we create an account, you have to get an email, right? And let's say, for example, people are not getting emails, which means we can't get customers onboarded. People are not able to get accounts created. Now you have to think of, oh, how exactly can we solve this? That email that is going out, you have to think of a temporary fix first. How that email that's supposed to go out, we have it internally, although it's automated, we can easily get it. So that way we pick that email and start to send them manually while the team is working on it. Now you've alerted the engineering team like, oh, this issue is going on, we need to take a look at it ASAP. Now it's a tech issue where emails are not delivering, or say I don't want to use a more technical example, but that's like the easiest one. You have to think of the dependencies. Who are the people involved, stakeholders? Remember how I've said that you have to make them your alliance, such that when issues like this happen, they give you priority, right? So you have to understand, I'm the one who is facing the customer. I know the pain point. I know how important this is to our entire business, right? So I will then be able to communicate the priority level of this issue, the importance of having to fix it that day, right? And in the meantime, we think of what we can do in the interim. What can we do in the interim? Get those emails and send them out manually while the team is fixing it. So you have to think fast. Priority, how important is this issue, right? What are the other dependencies? What are the other things it could possibly affect? It means that, oh, other things like verification email or other forms of notification like balance issue would be affected because they all go out from the same email server. So think of other dependencies and, find a temporary solution that you could use in the meantime while the team is fixing it, and they understand like the importance or the time constraints on on such issues. So yeah, I hope that answers it.
I'm sure that answers. She also asked for an example.
Okay.
Like, you just reminded me of when doing job interviews. I'll say, tell me about the time you saw this.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that. So yeah.
Okay. Hamzat asked about the recording. Hamzat, I'll be sharing the recording sometime next week. Right? Now, let me ask my question. Please, if you have any other questions, you can type them in the chat box. I think someone raised their hand earlier, but I can't find that person now. Okay. Kidebube, you can speak.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody. I just want to say, Ibukun, it's been so insightful listening to you this evening. Thank you so much. Basically, you did mention that you've worked in various industries, right? You mentioned banking. So that really resonated with me. So I currently work in the banking industry, and I've made a mental decision to fully transition into customer experience, right?
Okay.
So basically, my question to you right now is, I've decided that I want to lock in. In the next 1 month, I want to get a role in customer experience. So if you are in this position, in the next 30 days, what is the most realistic or like high impact actions you would take to achieve something like this? That's my question.
In 30 days. Okay. So I would use how I got into Dojah as an example. At the time I used to work in health tech. My time in banking was quite short, by the way, but I used to work in health tech. So I wanted to move roles. So what I did was I wrote down all of my current role, the functions of my current role. And I wrote down what an ideal customer experience person would have done or would be doing. And I tried to find how they relate. Now, what this means was I've written my core day-to-day activities, and I've written where I'm going, what I envisage. And I tried to look for, there's a word for it, transferable skills, right? the knowledge I can transfer from what I'm doing to where I'm going. Now, it would interest you to know that at the time when I joined Dojah, there was no job advert for it. I did a cold email to them to
Oh
say,
wow.
oh, I currently work in this and I think I can contribute to you, to your business in this and this. So I outlined in that email what I could do, what I'm doing, and how I could work and contribute to Dojah. And that was how I got it. So
Okay.
that's an advice I would give you, because that's what has
Okay.
worked for me, right? So outline what you currently do a bit of more research, right? What are the things that a typical customer experience would do? Marry them together, look for how they sync, right? And outline other businesses or range of businesses that you envision yourself at, right? You don't have to understand what they do. Envision yourself there, because when I joined it, I did not know what they were doing, right? Because again, it's a niche industry, right? So envision yourself there, reach out, LinkedIn, emails. I did cold email to be specific, and it was very
Okay.
interesting because in less than 12 hours, I got a response and say, oh, like, we would like to talk to you and understand,
Oh wow.
your skill level. And so that's what I would advise, because that's what has also worked for me.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. I was about to stop the recording, but then that question caught me in my tracks. And then the response, like sending a cold email, who would have thought that is working? And we hear such a testimony so close to home. Like, I'm old and I've learned. I'll go and hustle harder with my cold emails. Okay. Okay, Miriam, your hand is up. You can ask a question.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Please, well done. Your lecture was really nice. Please, I would like to ask that. Do you have any communities you can suggest for maybe a junior role or someone that is just middle, intermediate, so check out how you can get more jobs, what can actually help you be better and stuff like that, or communities that you can actually join to just have more experiences and stuff.
Unfortunately, I don't have much experience with communities. I'm not very, as much as I work in customer facing roles, I'm very shy, and I don't do good. I don't do very well in, communities and stuff like that. So I don't specifically have community recommendations, but again, what I've done in my current role, in fact, this year, what I've done most recently is also reaching out to people that are in similar positions and say, oh, I would like to learn how you operate, right? I've reached out to a couple of people on LinkedIn, within similar roles that have similar titles. So what I can say is you could reach out to, if you're in a junior role, you can reach out to people in a senior role and just ask them for recommendations. And when I reached out to people, I had specific scenarios and say, oh, I'm experiencing this in my current role, and I would like to know, if you have any recommendations, any advice. So you can also reach out to people. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to other people that you identify. And I know that the customer experience community is also another great place that you can pick up job roles. There is a community as well, you can pick up job roles, you can pick up insights, just like we're sharing today, and just learn more. But yeah, I don't really have all the communities that I'm a part of, unfortunately.
Okay, so let me add to that answer. So, Customer Experience Naija, in case you did not join in the beginning early, we're also a community that we share job roles, opportunities, courses, and resources that are useful to customer experience professionals, no matter the niche or role you are or are looking to join. And then we have conversations with senior CX professionals like we are doing today, where you get to learn more, ask more questions, and things like that. So I'll drop the link to join us in the chat. Now, let me move on to ask some more questions. Hi, Ibukun, are you ready? Maybe you want to drink water for this one.
I'm ready. I'm with you.
Okay, so my question is, as a CX lead, how did you decide? You pitched for this role, you're like the first person on the team, the first CX lead. How did you decide on what CX metrics to start with or monitor? in general? Because we have so many CX metrics, people are picking. How did you decide what am I starting with and this is what I'm going to work with for the rest of or as we go?
Thank you very much. So it comes down to what I had shared in, in the first 90 days, creating or doing an audit. So when I first joined, one of the first things I did was have certain conversations with the stakeholders, right? Have with my C-suite management specifically to just understand where we're at, right? There was no team at the time. I was a one-man team, right? So what I did first of all was to understand. I spoke to a lot of people. I spoke to the C-suite. I spoke to product team, and I just kind of studied engineering from afar, but I would advise, speaking to everybody specifically, understood, and, other people in similar roles in marketing and all of that. I spoke to everybody and just got an insight into where we're at. What is the current situation? How are things currently being done? How are customers being managed? How is onboarding being done? All of those things. And then when I fully understood what I'd gotten myself into, so to say, I started to then map out. I didn't finish all of this in 1 month, right? I started to then map out what I think is the ideal. I did a lot of research, what I thought was ideal, what I think would work better. And because I also had the freedom to experiment in my company, so it really helped me a lot, right? So I tried out, okay, let's switch things this way. And before, of course, you have to seek approval for stuff like that before you make key changes like that. So got approval, changed things, and then I started to look at what are the different touch points and what are the things I think are important. So I started to implement stuff like quick wins, quick stops. At this point, okay, customer has moved from point A to B. I will pick that point as one metric. From point B to C, another metric, right? So I started to count all of those different touch points as metrics, right? Then I started to look for the actual names that they are called, right? Turns out they did have names, but then I started to look for the actual names that they are called and use that to build my reporting system, use that to build my experience for customers and all of that.
Okay, thank you so much for that. My next question, also because you're being a lead, as a leader, how do you manage? You've mentioned getting your teams aligned and all that. How do you manage misaligned teams or cases where a team member is underperforming?
Yeah, I have experienced that in terms of underperformance. So it comes down to understanding or having conversation. So how I handled that personally was firstly had a conversation like, okay, this is what your performance is like. And for me, again, I said I'm very data inclined. I came with the numbers. This is what you've done for the quarter. And we don't think that this is good enough. What is the issue? Are you experiencing any challenge? It could be personal, right? It doesn't have to mean that the person's skill level is low, right? So had the conversation, what's going on, and got to know that, oh, this person had just lost their dad, which they didn't open up about and had affected them. Quite all right, give the person time to go on and all of that. But firstly, it comes down to understanding what the person's skill level is at, the expectations that has been set. And also another thing is at the beginning of the engagement where expectations clearly communicated, because a lot of times people might not know what's the full expectation from them, right? So coming down to understanding or to knowing that this person has a full knowledge or full understanding of what the expectation is for them, right? And when you're sure that they understand the expectation, you can then have that conversation as to you're not meeting up with expectation. And these are the different points in which you're dropping the ball and we think you can do better. You can then use things like probation period to let them know, but it's very important that you've clearly communicated the expectations and the point where they are dropping the ball or not meeting up to expectations so that they know what to work on. So it also comes down to clearly identifying your KPIs, that's your key performance indicators, right? So once the team member understands what their KPIs are, they know what they are working towards, they know what counts for them as good performance or bad performance, so that when you're coming to say, oh, you're not performing well, they they are not lost. They fully understand because it's glaring, it's clear to everybody.
Okay, thank you so very much for that. This brought another question in my head. After this, I would ask Chukwudumebi's question.
Okay.
So you mentioned communicating why they are getting that review, like what you checked for. Some of us we currently have a supervisor that checks us, right? And some of us are going to be supervisors that will check people in future. So
Right.
I want to know, like, especially for people that get feedback without clarity, what are the things that you are actually checking your team for as a team lead? What are the things that matter to you in terms of their behavior performance that is important to you on the job that you check and manage them for?
What are the performance indicators that I use?
Yes, that matter to you that you're checking them for.
Okay, so depending on their responsibility or depending on the units that they are in. So, for example, someone is on the onboarding team, right? And on the onboarding team, the expectations that we have set is ensuring that for every business that gets to you, you achieve 80% onboarding rates, right? Now look at how we would calculate that is the total number of customers that we received. How many of them have been onboarded? That helps you to calculate your onboarding rate. Or someone who is in support and their performance indicator is their response time. You have a 15 minutes first response time and a 60 minutes overall response time, which means that your first response when you get a new ticket has to be within 15 minutes during business hours. So it depends on the tool that you're using that can help you automatically track this, but tracking that, because it's already clearly indicated what the expectation is, that I expect you to respond to any tickets that you're getting via email or via the ticketing platform within 15 minutes, helps you to properly identify how, okay, at the end of the month now, from January 1st to 31st, what has been your average first response rate. If your first response rate is now 1 hour for first response, it means that you've fallen short of the expectation because you're supposed to have 15 minutes, but now you have 1 hour. Then you can now talk of, oh, what are the potential blockers? Is it that you're not getting notifications for when a new ticket is created, or is it that you're having some challenge accessing or responding to tickets? That you can then address if it's like a process issue or if it is an efficiency issue, which would be on the the team member side. So those kind of metrics. So the overall business goal is like the overall goal of the business. We want to, for us, for example, we always have that saying that customer is king. We want to be fast with responses. So we have the time limit. We've set time for first response. We've set time for resolutions. We've set time for overall responses. So those are the things that would count for the people that are directly responsible for such parts or such units of the process.
Okay, thank you so very much. Also, during your explanation, you've mentioned like a way to handle talking to somebody, giving them a probation period, telling them this is why, and this is giving them steps to hopefully redeem the situation. Okay, let me move to Chidebube's maybe question. But before then, Chidebube, someone is asking for your LinkedIn profile link or name in the chat. And for everyone on this call, I have shared Ibukun's profile link. You can connect with her, reach out to her, ask her any more questions you have. Okay, so Chukwudumebi is asking, what would you say is your biggest challenge as a CS lead, managing a large team for your company? And how large has your CS team been? I think she has answered the other part. Say there are about 8 on her team, but yeah, over to you.
Yeah. So like I said, I've been at Dojah for about 3+ years. In the first year, it was just me. Second year, we moved up to 2. In fact, it was just recently in like the last couple of months that we leveled up to 8 people. So it hasn't always been that large. But as customer request or the requirements increases, the people or the team increases, right? So what has been the biggest challenge for me, I would say, is hiring. I'm not gonna lie, is hiring, getting people. So I had mentioned how to build your team. Getting people who are equally customer obsessed as you are is a process, right? You could be there 2-3 months trying to find a talent. I would say it's hiring. But in terms of people who are already within the team, I would say that maybe the biggest challenge for me has been product knowledge, because it's a very technical product, right? So as much as it can be very customer obsessed, if they don't have adequate knowledge of the product, which is technical and requires a bit of time to catch up to. But yeah, it's once you get a hang of it, I think that my team members are good once they got a hang of it. But those two blockers were all those we had to scale to get to having a very fully functional team.
Okay, thank you so much for answering that, Ibukun. Chukwudu, maybe does that answer your question? I think so. If anyone has any other questions, please feel free to raise your hand or drop them in the chat.
Oh, someone mentioned that they use Dojah at their office. I hope
Yes, I saw that.
I hope it has been a good experience, Sarah. I
Yes,
would
it
actually love
has.
to know what business that is.
That's crop to cash.
Oh, our OGs. Yeah. Thank you so much, Sarah.
You're welcome.
So I want to ask, Latif just dropped a question.
Bit knob. Oh, my
Your
other
customers
OGs.
are here.
My regards to Chika, Simon. Those are the people that we talked to at Bit knob. So yeah, nice to know that we are split. Oh, see, this is why it's good to have good character. If my character was bad, this is how people would have probably opened and said that she's lying. But yeah, it's so nice to know that there are people that actually use Dojah here. It's so interesting. It's so great to meet you all.
Okay. People are bonding. That's nice. Latif asked a question. What's your view on using a product knowledge quiz as a KPI for your team?
Oh, I support that 100%. Like I said, one of the major challenges has been product knowledge. So yeah, using product knowledge as KPI is 100% good, because that helps you to know that the people who are interacting with your customers have adequate knowledge or the required knowledge to be able to support customers, or to be able to give them a good experience with the product. So if you don't know something, you can't give what you don't have, right? So using product knowledge as a KPI, 100% support it. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
During monthly, yeah, we do a bit of that. We have what we call like product tests, where you have to show, especially for poor my team, because we are the ones who interact with customers holistically, right? You have to show that we do random, we call it scenario-based demos, where randomly on a call you could call on anybody to come and demo the product to the team, right? So yes, you have to be very up to par with your knowledge of the product. Yes, and I 100% support it as being a KPI. So because that helps you to know that, again, the people who are supporting your customers, who are giving your customers like their experience, have up to par knowledge. So yeah, I 100% support that.
My former organization does that. We did that then. They still do it up to date at Money Points.
Yeah, it's actually very important. It's actually very important, again, because you can't give what you don't have. If you don't have parts of the knowledge, then you can't support people that are using the products.
Okay. Last question, because I'm not seeing any more. Hi, Ruth. We'll be sending the slides once we get them to everyone that registered via mail. So this question is to Ibukun. As a CS lead, so when we go for job interviews, of course, they tell us all they want from us and maybe all they have to offer for us. As a CS lead, as one that has been on the other end of the table, what do you think future CS lead, current CS lead, what are good things that CS lead can offer to their teams in terms of maybe support, career development? People are curious in all those areas. How do you support your team in these ways?
Okay, if I understand the question, what are the key things that I look for in talent when hiring, right?
That's a question you just asked. You would answer that, but that's not what my question is. let's say you're interviewing me, I'll say, oh, what are the career growth and support opportunities here? What do you offer your team?
Okay.
But now we have 2 questions.
So in terms of career growth, it depends on what units that the person is coming to work in, because there are different aspects to it. There's sales, there's support, there's retention, there's onboarding, right? So it depends on what particular units or of the entire process the person is coming to major in, right? You could move from just being in Dojah, we call them client partners. You could move from just being like a partner to being a senior partner. You could move from that to being like a unit manager and all of that. So yeah, there's a progression for the team, and you could also move across like units. If along the way you say, oh, you don't want to do this anymore, you want to move to products, fine, right? As long as you show commitment to what you're doing, and you also show like the interest in terms of learning and development. So yeah, you could move horizontally or vertically.
Okay, thank you very much. And the other question which you asked, which is what do you look for in a team? I know you talked about people that have the same passion for customer satisfaction as you. What other things do you look out for when you're hiring?
Yeah, I think it should be, for me, how you talk about your former role. So what I mean by that is, if you talk about it excitedly, there's a way you talk about what you're doing that I will know that you were happy to do this work, and also show how much of initiative you've shown. So typically in interviews, would ask questions like, oh, what is one key thing that you did that changed perspective or customer experience, or how customer operations was being done. So showing exactly how you've taken initiative shows that you're also able to like think fast and reason for yourself, right? So that's one thing I look out for, how people are able to take initiatives for themselves in previous roles, and also give them scenario-based questions. And your response to that will tell me different things, like your level of empathy, how well you're able to think fast of solutions to issues, and how well you're also able to take initiative. I hope that answers my own question.
Yes, it's answered. Latif asked a question. I think this is the last question we'll be taking for the night. We've taken a lot of Ibukun's time. Latif said, from your experience, what CRM tool has always given you that assurance of delivering on your team's tasks on a daily?
Oh, this is so I've moved across different tools, honestly. I would say that some tools that I like, Zoho has been quite okay. HubSpot equally has been very, very effective. I have different tools for different things, right? I like HubSpot for how the view that it gives you. Zoho because of how it infuses with Zoho Desk. But yeah, those are two that I can remember. But yeah, different CRMs have like their upsides and downsides.
Okay, great. So we love to hear about the downsides on another day. But yes, so thank you so much
Intercom,
for doing this.
Intercom also great for what's it called now? Ticketing, managing your knowledge base, managing your emailing, managing your live chats. Intercom, superb. Love it.
Okay. Latif says he uses Zoho, and I think it is hot dog. I don't know this tool. Well,
HubSpot, I guess, but yeah.
I'm guessing so. Okay, so thank you so much to everyone who has stayed from the beginning, joined us later on to this time. Thank you so much, Ibukun, for joining us. I have shared Ibukun's link before. I'll do it again for people that are just joining us. Please connect with her, ask her questions, because I'm not sure we're going to catch her anytime soon. She says she's shy, but you can go to her DM and she will answer you. Okay, thank you so much. You've made this session very impactful, very engaging, and honestly, I'm sure a lot of us are praying for Dojah to go so that it would hire more CX people, because we're loving the the spirit we're getting from the team culture. Okay, I think that's it for me. That's it for everybody. No more questions. The session link, the slides will be shared once I get them from Ibukun. Everyone will get them. The recordings too will be shared sometime next week. We will get it from Google and work on it a bit. Last words, please stay tuned for more sessions. We're open to volunteers because the slides and the we're open to volunteers because we need people to work with us to make all this better, all this seamless. And yes, so special announcements. We are planning meetups in different cities. Ibadan is up next. If you join the Telegram community, you could just state where you are and your city could be next. I think that's it for us this night. We've stayed for like 1 hour together, 1 hour plus. That's quality time. And I've learned a lot, you've learned a lot. We can go practice it in our different fields and hopefully we all get to be better CX leaders. Yay, CX in Ibadan. Okay, so thank you so much, Ibukun. I cannot thank you enough. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you too. Thank you for the invite. Thank you everyone for the time, for the questions. I've had a great time here. And I look forward to connecting with everyone. Thank you so much.
Okay.